I know the title sounds a bit weird, but hear me out, it's not what you think, I swear. Hi babes, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, subscribe. If you're not, tell me who your favorite black character is. The only rule is that they cannot be human.
But if they aren't human, how can they be black?
Blah blah blah. Yeah, I hear you. But that's precisely what today's video is all about. Before diving into the mess, I'll be drawing Pinkie Pie because this discourse over her is the main reason for me making this video. And at my little sister's request, I will also be drawing Luna, as she's her absolute favorite pony. So, what is black coding? Well, first let's define what coding is. Coding is when fictional non-human characters are given characteristics of a certain human demographic. There's queer coding, neurodivergent coding, and so on. So, naturally, black coding is when fictional non-human characters are written with characteristics that we would normally associate with black people. Now, I know it's very easy to say that black coding is racist and stereotypical, but it's not. While reading through opinions and discussions about black coding, I came across this Reddit thread that I feel like sums it up perfectly, better than I ever could. This user says, acknowledging that there are things which are more or less exclusive to black cultures is not the same as insisting that all black people must act a certain way. A good example is AAVE, also known as the out-of-date name Ebonics. Not all black people speak AAVE, but a vast majority of AAVE speakers are black, thus making it a black characteristic. Of course, like clockwork, someone replies, completely missing the point. Race should not be given a personality. It's dumb and stupid, because I don't think being from a certain race should make you act any certain way like nationality or culture does. It's racist. So then the original commenter replies wonderfully, you've got it backwards. Racial coding isn't about giving races a personality and making it like all members of that race must act that way. It's about acknowledging the very real common subculture shared by members of that race. No one is suggesting that being black means you must speak in AAVE, for example. Instead, they're acknowledging that speaking AAVE is a part of black culture. Another person then chimes in, adding on to both comments. Okay, learning moment. You're right. Race being given a personality can be stereotyping and racist. Any culture has certain observable characteristics, and if a writer decides to choose those characteristics in the character that they write, they are coding that character to be part of that culture. Coding is writing realistic and diverse characters, which will enrich your fictional world. Stereotyping is lazy and racist. It's surely not a surprise when that bro pill individual simply responds with, no, black is not culture, that's BS. And then even when corrected on the topic of black culture, there's no response. This little thread really shows how some people don't acknowledge black culture, black American culture to be exact. So that's why it can be so frustrating when people point out black coding and characters.
What do you mean? Because of how they talk and their hairstyles and their references to specific elements of black culture mean that they're black coded. Any race can have afros. Anyone can speak in AAVE and participate in Southern culture.
Yeah, a lot of black culture just gets written off as Southern culture, which is strange because black people also live in the North. Black American culture is so diverse, and to make it seem as it's just American culture or Southern culture or just Gen Z culture shows a commitment to ignoring the cultural powerhouse of black people. Yes, it's newer than most cultures you recognize, and there's a very dark reason for that, but its existence is still very real and very valid. Some examples of characters that are typically universally acknowledged as black coded are Garnet, Sugalite, Bismuth, and sometimes Amethyst from Steven Universe, Darn from Amazing World of Gumball, Cake and sometimes Jake from Adventure Time, Roxanne and Powerline from the Goofy Movie, and many, many more. And as much as you may have an issue with some, or even all of these, a few have already been canonically confirmed that if human, they will be black, and are inspired by real-life black people. Fan art is probably one of the first things that many artists ever drew. It's an excellent way to show your appreciation for a piece of media, character, style. And one of the most popular ways to draw fan art is through AU. AU stands for Alternate Universe. It's fun to redesign an already established character. It's all about creating a new world around the idea of what ifs. What if the Avengers weren't heroes but just everyday high school students? What if Undertale characters went to Hogwarts? What if My Little Ponies was grotesque and horrifying? What if I had some bitches? I forgot that I wrote that in. Human AUs and non-human AUs are popular as well, and human AUs is where a lot of black artists tend to get backlash. Outside of characters who are obviously purposely black-coded like Garnet, if a non-human character gets drawn as black, many people will not hold back to tell you that so-and-so is not black. In fact, people become quite furious if blackness gets attached to anything they don't deem attached to it. From my experience, it seems that in order for black characters to exist, there must be a reason, or a purpose, or else it's just pandering. Yes, black characters just existing, to some, is forced, woke, diversity, pandering agenda. A comment I once saw on YouTube about Huion from Attack on Titan makes me think deeper about this idea. A commenter said this: Huion is a great example of well-done inclusion. He makes sense to the series world and helps the viewer to understand how ignorant Eldons are about the world outside the island. Also, he seems like a really cool guy and his design is great. Wish he could have appeared a little bit before in the story to have more screen time. The problem I have is with the first two statements. The rest is perfectly fine, but Huion is a great example of well-done inclusion. He makes sense to the series world. It feels icky, as if even in fantasy settings, black bodies need a justification to even be there. Well-done inclusion isn't being able to justify why the black character is there. It's about having well-rounded, thought-out black characters. In a world that keeps telling us that race doesn't matter and that being colorblind is the way to be, why would the inclusion of black characters need a reason? Is it because many see the default, the normal, as white or pale skin? You won't bat an eye if the main character is white. But suddenly, if they're black, losers will whine on Twitter.
Oh god, look at them pandering to the blacks.
I get confirmation on this idea that to some, black characters cannot just simply exist in fiction, when this following comment was underneath it in response. Exactly. It actually serves a purpose in showing how limited their worldview is, instead of being black because, you know.
What do you mean by that?
How about I don't know? Do you see what I mean? There needs to be a purpose because clearly we cannot just exist in fiction unless we have a use. I understand why Attack on Titan frames it like this with this character, and I do not have a problem with that. But I'm more critical of how most shows that have a weak defense that use this reason to show why black characters cannot be there. Like, there are gods fighting mythical creatures in another realm with characters with pink skin and green skin and 5, 4, 3, 2 eyes. And you telling me nigga can't be there too? Especially if there's other people there. Like, that's just crazy to me. I say all of this to point out the pushback for black characters canonically, them being picked apart and questioned for their existence, and this unnecessary critical eye on blackness extends to even harmless fan art. Fan art of characters that aren't even human. Like, how does that work? God forbid you draw a cute character as a black person. Prepare for some unhinged, unprovoked, racist statements spewed your way. I've seen it time and time again. Before I move on to why all this makes me reject black coding, allow me to address the elephant in the room. I'll make this quick because I find this topic annoying and never ending. As a black artist who has done this, I'll establish my viewpoints on black edits and black AU fan art. 1. Blackwashing is not a real concept. The real concept is whitewashing. Whitewashing is the act of erasing POC from media by either removing key ethnic features, lightening the skin, or completely making the original character white or mixed with white. Basically, washing away people of color with whiteness. And when this is done, it's to appease mass audiences. Whitewashing isn't just TikTok artists failing to properly color pick. It's Hollywood and big entertainment companies who make entertainment for the masses literally removing people of color from media. And we're already aware of how lacking POC representation is even in 2022. To even make it seem like white people are being erased from media is insulting. Until white people get their cultures forcibly erased, have their humanity denied, and have their own media representation only be harmful, disgusting, violent stereotypes for years, I will never say that black edits or any POC edits of white characters are the same or has the same effects as whitewashing. The two are just not comparable. 2. I am 100% okay with black edits and black AU fan art, unless it infringes upon another culture, marginalized group, or representation. For example, I wouldn't approve of black AU fan art or edits of characters like Moana, Pocahontas, Mulan, Mirabelle. I think those are very tasteless, but everything else is free game to me, and you will not see me condemn it. 3. I believe there is room for Black AU fan art and Black OCs. Both can exist and do exist. If you're gonna go around saying,
Why don't they just make their own OCs?
we do. And if you follow Black artists, you'd know this. 90% of the artists I follow are Black, and so many of them have multiple Black OCs with full-on backstories. If you want to see fewer young Black people feeling the need to create representation through edits and fan art, boost and support your fellow Black artists and their works. And 4, if you disagree, cool. We all can have different opinions. If we feel the need to rebel by making ugly, whitewashed edits, go crazy. Have fun. And that's basically all I can say about the topic, and if I ever do change my mind, I certainly will let y'all know. Anyways, I see nothing wrong with Black coding, so why do I reject it? Why do I say it's cancelled? And it's simple. I am tired of having to justify why a character could be Black by having to cite its Black coding. Something that even with blatant evidence still gets rejected and ignored. See the Darwin human fan art discourse about that. Therefore, after much thought, I have decided I don't need Black coding to say that a non-human character, if human, would be Black. Nah, nope. How about this? They're all Black. My Little Pony, all Black. The Backyardigans, all Black. Every Sonic character, all them niggas Black. Every single animatronic in FNAF, Black, Black, Black. Every single non-human character, unless purposely racially coded as something else, will be Black to me. Oh, but they're a bat, a horse, a cookie, a hunk of metal. Yeah, well, they're also Black too. I'm negrifying everybody. Nobody is safe. But who gon' check me? To go back to that Reddit thread I was reading before, acknowledging that there are things that are more or less exclusive to Black culture is not the same as insisting that all Black people must act a certain kind of way. And I agree. I'll use the gems from Steven Universe as an example. Garnet and Bismuth are both voiced by beautiful Black women and have many physical traits associated with Black women. Afros, locks, full lips, and full figures. To say that these two gems, if human, wouldn't be Black would get you laughed out the room. Of course they're Black. Look at them. Look at the coding. Look at the voice acting. And valid. But if I would say gems like aquamarine, blue agate, and any other the diamonds, pearls were Black, I would be met with, how so? And I hate that. Do I need a reason? Is the lack of kinky hair and AAVE what makes them not Black? Especially if there's no other cultural or ethnic coding in place, can't they be Black? We know that all Black people are not the same. We are not a monolith. So why are artists hated over something as harmless as reimagining these non-human characters as Black people? Well, we know why. It's one thing to not care for a certain human AU. It's another to be upset and bothered that someone drew a character as Black because you're only upset that they are Black. You know, there's a word for that. Coding is important and it serves its purpose for sure. Black coded characters shouldn't have their Blackness ignored, but a diverse range of Black human characters is just as important. And through human AU fan art, we can get that personal representation that's lacking so much canonically. All in all, my overall point is this. The response to Black characters is a reflection of the anti-Black bias that people have. Some people believe that the presence of Blackness needs to make sense and have a purpose to the story, or else it's forced diversity, or pandering. This, mixed in with the global denial of Black American culture as a legitimate culture, leads to very exhausting conversations to prove how Black coding is even being used in fictional non-human characters. So when we draw Black fan art, there's this strange racial pushback, and I'm tired of having to explain why Blackness deserves space in the art world. I'm over having to see my fellow Black creatives basically set up bulletproof arguments to only be ignored by people who really just don't like seeing us in art. No amount of evidence will change these types of people. So I will be recognizing whatever character as Black because I can and want to. And that's all the reason I need. My personal human AU does not canonically change anything. But that's not the point. It's never been the point. And all my fellow Black artists, I encourage you to do the same. Whenever I get back into my fan art fever, just know it'll be Black as fuck, just as it's been before. And if this video is getting you all in a frenzy, it's just art, as y'all like to say. If you don't think it's that deep, don't worry. You don't need to tell us. We can hear the wind passing through your skull from here. I have an inkling you don't really think much at all. But you know what I think? I think Black fan art is wonderful, and I think black art is beautiful. Aw, it's the end of the video. I had so much fun chatting your ear off. So, until next time, remember to be kind to yourself because you matter. And I'll see you in another video. Bye, babes!